Be perfect as God is perfect. And yet few listen. Hello world, my name is David Dorn, and this is Preposterous, which is not your typical Bible study. And this week we're tackling the very end of Matthew chapter 5, which just so happens to be one of the toughest verses that we will cover. Being perfect. It's tough stuff. This week we're looking at Matthew chapter 5, verse 48, and Jesus says here, "Be perfect, therefore, as your heavenly Father is perfect." Because on the surface this is a very tough verse, many people just simply dismiss it as something Jesus didn't really mean. Well, what if Jesus did really mean it? Are you perfect? Well, first we need to define what perfection is, because perfect here in this verse is a lot different than the way you and I may think of perfectionism. The definition of perfect in this verse is having all the required or desirable elements, qualities, or characteristics. Another definition is lacking nothing. One author that I read talking about this verse said, "This is different than being 100% correct all of the time. Rather, it is wholeness consumed by love." Holiness. So what are these qualities, these characteristics or elements that make someone whole? Love. Look at the verses right before this one, the ones we've talked about over the past few weeks. Love is what Jesus is going for here. I mean, you can look all the way back to when Jesus first starts talking about how anger is like murder and lust is like adultery and divorce is not good. All the way up until now, they're all rooted on this idea that we should love well. Love both God and people and do it in a way that is honorable. Jesus is talking about being made perfect in love. And this is a quality of a Christ follower because it is the quality of God. Now, this is different than perfectionism. Perfectionism has you work really hard at doing the right thing for the sake of doing the right thing. The end goal of perfectionism is to stand up and say, "I made it." But rather, the end goal of being perfect, like in this verse, is to be like God. Perfectionism demands striving and achieving. Perfect invites beholding and becoming. Now, we can work really hard at doing this versus this, acting this way as opposed to acting that way. But so can everyone else. So what separates a Christ follower from other people who just live really good lives? And the answer is Jesus. It is Jesus who makes us perfect. Well, what kind of perfect? Perfect in love. How? Well, we looked at it in episode 2. We have to start showing up. We simply show up and allow God to be God in our lives, and the more we spend time with Him, the more Jesus really rubs off on us. When you draw close to Jesus, your life gets completely changed. And I don't care how good you were to start off with, Jesus completely changes the way you see the world around you and the way that you live. And in the process, He saves you. But does this mean that we still sin? Well, yes. We won't ever fully escape sin's influence this side of eternity. But with Jesus, we can be made perfect in the way that we love God, in the way that we love people. 1 John talks about how being made perfect in love changes who we are. And in relation to that verse, it says that perfect love casts out fear. And I love the parallel to Matthew 5:8 to the Old Testament. A parallel is something that goes along in the same vein. In this verse in the Old Testament, Leviticus 20:26 says, "You are to be holy to me because I, the Lord, am holy, and I have set you apart from the nations to be my own." Isn't that what we just said? That being perfect is a mark of being a Christ follower? And 1 Peter 1:16 reiterates this verse in Leviticus by saying, "Be holy because I am holy." I mean, isn't this what Jesus is talking about? This is the mark of what it means to follow God, holy and perfect. Jesus is eternally joining these two things together here in this verse in Matthew 5:48. This is important. So we shouldn't just skirt past it and ignore it and act like it's not there. Instead, we should realize that this is something that we can become with the help of Jesus. Now it's your chance to respond. But I can't just tell you to go out and be perfect for a week because that's just impractical. So instead, I want you to name some qualities and some characteristics of Jesus. It may even be his characteristic to love other people like this. But I want you to take your list and narrow it down to one or two things, one or two characteristics or qualities that Jesus has that you want in your life. And for the next week, I want you to pray about them. I want you to find stories in the Bible that demonstrate those qualities. Find people who live these qualities out and spend time with them. Do this for the next week and see how God is starting to move you closer to being perfect in these areas. Because just about everything revolves around the way that we love God and the way that we love people. And the more we become like Jesus, the more we become perfect as God is perfect. But as you're going out and doing this week, tell me how it's going for you. And if you do it in a video response, you may end up with a $10 iTunes gift card for sharing your story with us. But make sure you subscribe to us here on YouTube, and you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter. I would love to be able to interact with you in those places throughout the week. And if you ever have any questions for me, make sure you leave them in a comment, or you can tweet me at any time. And if you're a small group leader, make sure you sign up on the website so we can send you some small group leader stuff. Check out these comments from last week's video. I hope you have a great day and realize that you can be made perfect in love with the help of Jesus. God bless. Won't you be my neighbor?